Thanks very much for tuning in again, friend. Lovely to see you again. Just quickly check if there was anyone else there. No, cool. So yes, happy Thursday. Just give everyone a minute or two, a couple of seconds to jump on, as we normally do before we jump into our little silent meditation. But just while we're waiting for all of that, I just thought I would check in again with how I've been going with doing some longer meditations this week. Hi Prue, nice to see you again as well. I've been continuing to do slightly longer meditations for the last week, and it has been, again, quite interesting. And one of the things I've really noticed is this perseverance, which I'll be talking a bit about tonight, is like quite an important thing, especially when you're going to be sitting for, half an hour, 40 minutes, or even longer. It's something that's become really quite present for me. So I'm really looking forward to talking about that. But I have been doing it, which has been really cool, and it's been making quite a big difference to my day, just my ability to stay present, and my ability to just self-regulate throughout the day, throughout the days and weeks, which has been really, really nice. But before I get too far into all of that, and go off on a bit of a tangent, I think it's probably a good idea to just start by sitting in silent meditation together for a little while, as we normally do. So I'm just checking the clock now. Cool, so we'll just do a few minutes. I'll just time vaguely for about 7 minutes, because once again I'm using my own phone, so I don't have a timer again. I need to get myself a little bell or something, I think. We'll see how we make do for today. But yeah, as per usual, we'll just sit. You're welcome to use any meditation techniques you might have, whether that's breathing or body scanning or lying down and just noticing your breath, or just sitting silently and noticing the various things that might arise. Without further ado, I will see you guys in about 7 minutes. And slowly bringing yourself back into the room whenever you feel ready. Thank you for joining me for that lovely silent meditation again. It's always, as always, such a pleasure and such a nice way to start things off. So, what I wanted to talk about today, the thing that has been, particularly, I feel is particularly alive, at least for me right now, and it's probably the same for a lot of people, considering that this tends to be a time of year when lots of things are on the table and lots of challenges are coming up, and we often have a lot to kind of organize, wrap up, bring together. And thanks. Yeah, my internal clock is pretty good these days. Yeah, it's a time when we often have like a lot of things to get together and bring together, and it's often quite important that all of those things kind of fall into place, and hopefully fall into place well and in a way that is cohesive and works well for not just us but the people around us as well. And there are all kinds of challenges and things that come up in the process of trying to make things happen, particularly nice things. And so yeah, this is a really good thing to, perseverance is a really good thing to cultivate, because that's pretty much what perseverance is. It's just the act or the process or the ability to, despite the obstacles or challenges that might be inherent in its pursuit. And so it's quite natural a lot of the time for us to struggle at things when they're difficult. Sure, that's an experience that most people at least have had, of kind of coming up against, of struggling in some way towards something, encountering obstacles and those kinds of things. And there are a couple of different ways that this kind of tends to manifest in my experience and in the various models that I use. One of the ways that we tend to approach struggle, or one of the ways that we tend to, things we tend to embody when we are struggling with something, is a bit of a defeatist attitude. And that one is, that's basically giving up, essentially. Defeat, being in a more defeatist kind of mentality and embodying those kinds of characteristics means that we just don't get to the places that we want. We don't get the things that we want to have. We don't achieve the things that we want to achieve. And we kind of it's basically dropping the ball, really. I think that's probably fairly self-explanatory. The other one, another way that a lot of people, or the way that I see a lot of people approaching struggle or things that are difficult, is through aggression. And whether that's getting angry or fighting back or biting back or whatever that may be. Aggression is another very common way to that people deal with struggle, and it also is not particularly ideal, right? If we're as I think Scott and I have talked about in the past, if we're arcing up or responding from a place of anger or irritation, then those things tend to dictate the way that things play out, and we are kind of creating more resistance in the world and with the people that we're working with, or just with the thing that we're working on. I don't know how many people enjoy working on things that they might otherwise like when they're feeling really irritated or angry at it. I personally don't enjoy doing that. But aggression can be a bit of a barrier to working through obstacles, which is where perseverance comes in. Perseverance is kind of the way that, whether those are times or particular circumstances that weren't foreseen, whether they're trying to figure out what another person wants. Perseverance is all about basically saying, yes, cool, that's a challenge. Yes, there's an obstacle here, and and despite the fact that there is a wall in front of me, despite the fact that this is not currently working the way that I want it to, I'm still going to find a way to get to the place that I want to go to. And one of the things I've found personally to be really kind of useful in this is to be knowing at least having an idea of, well, first of all, to know what it is that you're like kind of working towards and what it is that you want, but kind of knowing what you want that for. And I say what you want that for as opposed to why you want it, because when, at least personally, when things are really, really challenging, when I'm doing something that's really hard, sometimes asking myself, why am I doing this, is not a particularly useful question. Because why am I doing this why is one of those strange questions that can, while it's very useful and often very interesting, can often backfire when we're in a place that's like slightly less, perhaps like slightly less resourceful than we would like to be. Like when we're trying to climb over something that is, you know, typically beyond our reach, or at the borderline of where our capacities lie. On the other hand, what am I doing this for, kind of brings us back to much more, well, it's kind of essentially asking the same thing. It's there's an implicit drawing of our attention to the end goal, like why we're doing it, but what it is that we're trying to create, what it is that we're actually in pursuit of, what it is that's worth persevering through this uncomfortable situation or overcoming this obstacle for. Yeah, which I think is, and I personally have found that to be quite a bit more interesting. And quite a bit more useful, in fact, is probably a better way of putting it, quite a bit more useful than the why. So please excuse my camera like dropping in and out, by the way. I hope that's not causing anyone too much disruption. Once again, my phone is not ideal for this for some reason, likes to do the in and out thing, but it's just something that I am choosing to persevere through, and continue to do this in spite of. But I guess like a good place to kind of go with this might be like why, what the kind of point of persevering is. So like, why would I want to persevere with something if it's hard? Why would I want to do something that is unpleasant or difficult? And the answer basically, at least again in my experience, is for the learnings that come from it, for the improvements that come from doing things that are difficult. Because we don't grow, we don't learn, and we don't expand or like encounter new opportunities from a place where we are already comfortable. Comfort is fantastic. It obviously feels very good. It's kind of, that's why it's comfortable. But it's when we are beyond our comfort zone, it's when we are testing ourselves in some way, that we are actually able to expand and to learn new things, to grow and surpass our own limits. So part of the point of perseverance is actually to just get better at whatever it is. And it's a really amazingly transferable skill. Particularly relevant to this forum and this discussion is how one can cultivate perseverance in meditation. Often, some of you may have experienced this as you've continued to practice your own meditations. Sometimes meditation is like super smooth and really easy, and sometimes there are constant distractions coming up, whether that's sounds in the environment that are drawing your attention, that you might want to open your eyes and go and investigate, whether that is a kind of like shortness of breath or a catching or something like that, whether that's a pain somewhere in your body, in your knee, in your foot, in your back. Maybe it's an itch that has shown up quite inconveniently just when you are. Meditation is a really fantastic practicing ground for perseverance, because in basically saying to ourselves, for the next allocated period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, however long it is, for this next period of time, I am going to sit and observe my breath, scan my body, observe my thoughts, just notice what's coming up, or any other, like, practice any other kind of technique. I'm going to do this thing for this period of time, and until that time finishes, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to basically take control of my own mind, of my own thoughts, of my own attention, and I'm going to stick through any of the inherent discomfort that arises in this. And it kind of like, because a lot of the time meditation can tune you into things that are not particularly pleasant about your experience, even if that's just like a little bit of a soreness somewhere. It might, you might realize that your mind that you're very distracted by a whole bunch of other things, that there's a whole bunch of things going on in your life that you were not necessarily aware of, or you didn't realize were taking up so much of your mental space. But in like making that commitment to ourselves to sit and to just be in the moment, just be with whatever is there, we cultivate this ability to persevere. And that translates very nicely out into broader life. One of the best ways in meditation to kind of extend to persevere and to make sure that you are sitting is to just say to yourself, cool, one more breath. To just take one more breath before you go and do that thing, and just focus on the next breath and just have one more and one more. And this is exactly the same out in real life, just recognizing that by taking a breath and giving yourself a bit of space to really observe before you decide where to go next. This creating of space, this like taking a breath, taking a moment to notice, also allows us to be more creative, be more innovative, and to move through the challenges that we might face or be finding in various parts of our lives. So, yeah, I don't actually have a whole lot to say other than that. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'm obviously more than happy to answer those, but kind of the key, I guess, to like summarize, the kind of key points is that perseverance is a really, really important skill to have. And it's basically the ability to overcome obstacles, which is something that we all face at various points in our lives. And some of the ways that are really helpful to like cultivate this, like both in meditation and outside of, like, are to remember, what the aim of the thing that you're doing is, what you're ultimately working towards, to have a very clear, defined purpose, whether that's, to sit for a couple of minutes or to achieve a particular, to make a particular accomplishment. And yeah, another way to do that is just to like observe your breath and take a moment before responding or reacting when you're really feeling the struggle, to take a breath, to make sure that you're still breathing, and to let a nice long exhale, and to just continue, like to fall into a rhythm with your breath. To allow that to unfold. Sorry, comment there. Cool, I'm glad it's inspiring you to keep up your own practice. That's really great, Brie. Really glad to hear that. Okay, well, I've talked a little bit about perseverance, and it is a Thursday evening. And as I've said, I don't really think I have a whole lot else to say on the topic. So without further ado, you might like to make yourself a little bit comfortable. Perhaps rearrange yourself on your seat a little bit. Maybe take a nice deep breath and let it out with a bit of a sigh. And begin to close down your eyes and bring your attention inwards. Perhaps starting to notice your breath. As you allow your attention to just land here in your body. Allow your legs to grow heavy, the seat or the floor where you find yourself. And you might notice how your breath can start to slow down. As you continue to follow your breath and drift down, deeply down on the inside. And as you drift down even more deeply, you might be aware of sounds in the environment around you, or perhaps particular sensations arising in your body or in your mind. And that's okay. You can just allow them and welcome them in fact. Because the fact that you can notice them at all means that they can guide you even deeper into this deep, calm state of relaxation. That's it. And as you continue to drift, I just invite you to call to mind a specific time in the past, a specific time when you overcame an obstacle. And as you recall the specific time when you overcame a particular obstacle, just notice the things that you notice, the sights that you saw, the sounds that you heard, the feelings you felt, the smells that you smelled. And see, explore in whatever way feels comfortable and natural to you. Explore this particular experience and discover something, some certain learning that might be useful for you to have access to the next time you encounter some kind of obstacle. Explore and discover in this specific experience certain learning that might be useful for you to have access to the next time you encounter some kind of obstacle. or learnings with you. Allow them to record themselves into your marvelous unconscious mind, trusting them to integrate. As you recall another particular time in the past, a particular time when you achieved something that you had to work hard for. Recall a particular time when you achieved something that you worked hard for. And see the sights that you saw. Hear the sounds that you heard. Feel the feelings that you felt. And smell the smells that you smelled. And explore. This experience. And I wonder what you might discover as you explore and discover a certain something in this experience that might be useful for you to have access to the next time you are working to achieve something that you need to work hard for. That's it. And bring these learnings with you too now, allowing them to undergo the process of integration into your unconscious mind. As you call to mind now another specific time in the past, a specific time when you were able to grow from something that might initially have felt unpleasant or uncomfortable or difficult in some way. Call to mind a specific time in the past where you grew from doing something difficult. And see the sights that you saw in this specific experience. Hear the sounds that you heard. Feel the feelings that you felt. Smell the smells that you smelled, and explore this experience. Discover something in this that might be useful for you to know or be aware of the next time that you find yourself facing or doing something difficult. That's it. And bring this with you now, allowing it also to integrate into your marvelous unconscious mind as you gather all of these learnings that you have discovered from all three of those experiences as you float out into the future now. Drift out into the future to a point beyond a particular time, to a certain time in the future where you will be able to look back at another particular time in your future, particular time where you overcame or were doing something that felt hard or difficult or challenging in some way. And from this specific spot where you can look back upon that and see all the various ways in which notice all of the resources that were available to you. How many possibilities and opportunities were continued and are continuing to open up for you because of these discoveries that you have made here today. Because it's funny, isn't it? How even the smallest parts of some of the experiences we might have had can be like gemstones that brighten and reflect the light of our experience through a myriad of possible colors and combinations that we might otherwise have been unaware of. And bring all this with you now as you float all the way back to the present moment. Bringing all of this with you as you come back to the present moment now. Taking all the time you need for all of this to integrate in the next 30 seconds or so. Gently float back to your body and begin to come back into the room, allowing your attention to spread out through your body and into the room around you, and gently begin coming up, back up into the room, where you can continue your evening with all of these amazing discoveries that you've made. And I would love to hear, I look forward to, in fact, hearing how well any of you go, and whether or not, I'm kind of curious as to whether or not you'll even notice those things happening as you do them the next time you find yourself facing some kind of challenge. Or if they'll just kind of happen and other people might just observe to you or tell you in some way, make it known to you, that you seem to be finding those challenges slightly less challenging than you might have previously found them. But thank you all for joining me once again for a lovely Thursday evening meditation. As always, it's an absolute pleasure. Scott will be joining me next week, I'm pretty sure, which will be really cool. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but I'm very much looking forward to having him back. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I hope you're having a fantastic week, and I hope you're having a fantastic December and continue to have a fantastic December. And I will see you all next Thursday, 7:30 p.m.